80% of all deals written in this industry done over the phone, not face-to-face, are canceled.
Hell no. Hell no. Like, it's not true.
Man, there's a lot of sayers and not too many doers.
Like, I want you to hear all these bad calls. I want you to hear me telling people, I'm not interested. Then finally, we get a deal.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Leads to Deals podcast, where we talk about everything from leads to deals and everything that we talk about leads to deals. If you're here, it means you're driven to level up your life, skyrocket your financial success, and master the art of sales, persuasion, and entrepreneurship. This podcast is for you, the go-getters, the industry disruptors, the deal makers. Proudly sponsored by synergydata.io, the industry's best website for real estate data. We got a special guest here on the Leads to Deals podcast today, Mr. Travis Wells. He's the host of the Property Profits podcast, a serial entrepreneur, real estate investor, CEO, online personality, community leader, and like fitness coach, as you can tell already. So thank you for coming on the podcast with the guns out, and it's sun's out now. So let's go, Travis Wells. Thank you, brother.
Man, thanks for having me. I'm stoked to be here, brother, man. And I feel like, there might not be any right now, but I feel like there's like smoke and fireworks, and I'm coming out one big flare. So yeah, dude.
But dude, you should hear that. It sounds like a damn club in the background over here right now on my sales floor. They've gone apeshit crazy today already to start, man. And so, dude, I want to give you a shout out. I saw yesterday or the day before in your community, which is the Wholetail community, you're doing something I think that's very, very unique, but you had a monster, authentic individual, a guy by the name of Bobby Castro. And so I consider that like super big fish of the REI world, not just the wholesaling world, the REI world. So I guess tell me real briefly, I want to touch on that a little bit about the community and how'd you snag Bobby Castro to come in and speak to your team?
Yeah, I mean, so Bobby Castro's been my personal coach for a couple of years now.
No shit.
Yeah. And the way I got him to coach me is he used to put free 10-minute links on his calendar back in the day. And people wouldn't take them. They were free. I would literally sign up for every one of them, and I keep notes. And I do exactly what he would tell me. And then I'd show up again. He's like, bro, you're on every single one of these. It's like, you want to coach with me? I was like, hell yeah. And, then he told me the price point, and I was like, I'm going to figure it out, right? But anyway, yeah, so Bobby's changed my life, bro.
So let me tell you real quick about how I got introduced to him. I went to a boardroom event with Kent Clothier many moons ago, probably like 2 years ago, and he told his story, him and Sophia. And dude, I thought it was the most authentic thing that I had ever heard since I got in the REI space, Travis, because as I got into your guys' world, I realized like, man, there's a lot of sayers and not too many doers. And he speaks so humbly and he speaks from his heart. And then like I was moved by his story, and Kent introduced me to him and his family. And then we ended up getting on some Zooms, and we worked out a campaign in Alabama for some single family stuff. And anyways, I hold him in a pedestal of his own because his track record screams for him, but yet he talks to you. You know what I mean? He doesn't stunt. He doesn't talk trash. He's just, he lives it, man.
Yeah. He came in the community, and the merging the you asked about the community is I'm a big fan of doing wholesale deals, meaning deals that require little to no rehab and reselling.
Yep.
And that's what I teach people to do in the community. Obviously, every deal doesn't fit that box. Yeah. So you don't wholesale them if they don't, right? But that's a big factor that people are missing. That's like your home run. That's like you're swinging for the fence, and people don't do it because they're scared of funding. I wanted Bobby to come in the group because, as you know, when you train people, you coach people, you only have half a handful of people that get after. You know what I mean? Yeah. For whatever reason, you can give them everything in the world you want so bad for them to be successful. And if Bobby has that it factor, when he talks to you, he's like, you better kick your ass. But you feel bad. You're not mad about it.
Yep.
He's genuine. And you're like, damn, I should be doing more with my life, right? That's why I wanted him to come in.
So he was like more fuel to the process. I want to talk about the process because I have a lot of people, even myself, man, I've learned so much in my past few years as being a real estate investor. I've learned a lot of things that I should have done sooner. I learned a lot of things that I thought were going to really play out better. And right now, the sweet spot for me has been co-living. And so like I just see these markets and we've gotten some really great return. And it's like, how can I hold on to this asset and still get the equity ride, but not literally, dude, we must have 40 some properties that are not cash flowing. They're just like barely paying. And if this one cash flows a little bit, all of a sudden now something happens in this other one and you're constantly moving around. But co-living, we're having much better spreads. So walk me through for you how you got to your decision where you're like, you know what, no more wholesaling, no more fix and flips. I'm going to really double down on wholetailing. And I guess explain what wholetailing is to anybody who's like has no clue.
Yeah. And dude, I love how real you are to say that, because it's a fact. People are like, oh, look at these checks. Look at this money. Look at all these have 50 houses. You're going to retire. Get the hell out of here. Yeah. Like, get that hell out of here. And you know that, yes. Right? And don't get me wrong, it's blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to tell you the good and the bad. I started out, I started driving a truck, bro, in oil and gas. And I worked up to the vice president of the company. Didn't have any education. And I was making good money along the way. And I was like, dude, I was like single dude at the time. And then I got married. All the sorts anyway, but I had money. And I was like, where am I going to put this? And I started buying real estate. I started buying trap houses, just like the cheapest.
Legit trap houses.
You know, where when you don't have money, you're like, damn, like I need to buy cheap stuff. You don't know, right? So I was buying the 20,000 houses, 15, whatever that I could get crazy rents for. When I say crazy, like $800 a month for a $20,000 house.
What city, Travis?
Corpus Christi was my main market.
And were you living there?
I was living there at the time.
And are you doing face-to-face trap houses, or are you buying these over the phone?
I would never go to the properties. Never. To this day, I still don't go to the properties. I've always leveraged everyone because I was never home. Yeah. I was gone. So I was having to like, hey, you know, and I was a manager and stuff. So I had that good trait, but I would buy these cheap ass houses. The problem with that, I bought a lot.
Direct to seller? I'm so sorry, Travis. I really want to know, but were you direct to seller?
Direct to seller. Later on, I started using a few wholesalers.
Yeah. But you did the thing that so many people aren't able to do, which is they have a 9-to-5 or they have this other commitment, and it's really hard for them to execute out of that job. But if that's what I'm hearing, that's what you did. You ultimately pivoted out, right?
Oh, bro, I worked day and night shift. Like it was either real estate day or like there was no
understood.
Like, you know what I mean? You gotta sacrifice. But here's the problem with that, and that I don't think people tell me, is those kind of houses don't appreciate it. You're not building wealth, right? And you end up having more repairs and maintenance over time with those things. I don't like the trade-off. I bought a lot of them, right? Coming up. And then I did a lot of flips, and you know, you win, you lose, whatever. I don't flip anymore. Here's what a wholetail is. Say that you get on the phone with a seller or a wholesaler, whatever the hell it is. You run your numbers and it looks like you can make my deal, my margin for a wholetail. I've got to make a 10% minimum return net after closing costs, buying, selling, net return, not upfront, like total trend, cycle the deal. When I buy to when I resell it, I'm doing all my agents' costs, everything, double close costs, all that. So I want to make a minimum of 10% return if it's over 300K. If it's under 300K, I have to make 30K minimum. And that is buy and literally putting back on the market and resell.
I want to dig into that. We'll start technical and then we'll go into some of the sales side. But when you look at a wholetail, are you... especially in the trap, you're not doing trap homes because those people can't get financing approved. So your avatar of house is way different than you were in the beginning, correct?
Yeah. It's going to be like your nicer. I say nicer. It depends on what part of the world you're in. In Texas, you can get a $300,000 house that's badass, right? So wherever you're at, you know.
Yeah. Okay. So you're seeing a house. It's a wholesale lead. It's a hoarder house. You're taking, for education, you're taking possession of the property contractually. This is not a novation where you're maybe making some repairs while it's still in their name, but you're actually taking possession of the property, and it's typically nicer, or is it wholesale type? And then you're putting, like, what's the amount that you're willing to put into these bad boys?
$3 a square foot. So I have a calculator.
Nice.
Right? And it says, yes, is this a wholesale? Yes or no? It tells you, it changes when you put in the number, right? Because I wanted to make it easy for people. And the thing is I've ran the numbers for this calculator across my last, like, I don't know how many deals. And I wanted to make sure it was really close to what we were actually netting. And it'll tell you yes or no. All you have to fill out is what you're going to contract it at. And then the repairs, you put yes or no. And then you put light, medium, or high. So that your major repairs like roof, foundation, plumbing, HVAC, you put yes, it needs it. No, it doesn't. It calculates everything for you.
That makes it simple for somebody analyzing this deal. So you got somebody in your community, they come across a motivated seller. They think that they run it through your calculator. They communicate with everybody in the team. What is their funding sources typically when they're coming into this?
I would say about a deal we're closing on one day. There was an agent that came in the group. She's had a ton of, and I'm not talking bad. She is a great human being. Yes. She is, I admire her. She's got kids. Like, she's been just given in hell, but didn't have that. She needed that little tweak. Just a little tweak. And she'd been losing on flips, lose her ass. And then she'll like supplement with some listings, but you don't make a lot of that crap. Yeah. And she comes in, she's like, bro, like, I'm gonna try this. Be straightforward. I'm gonna probably pay for a month, right? Well, she comes in like the first couple of weeks, she brings a deal, and it's a 300 and like, what was it now? I don't know, $300,000 house, right? What I wanted. Needs no repairs, has never been updated. That's important because those are really good candidates. Needs no repairs, but they've been taken care of. Usually it's like older people that lived in them and they just left, right? And she ends up saying, hey, my buddy's an agent. She's not the hammer type. She's not the type that you trade, like to just call all day. She's the network. I got buddies. Well, they brought her this deal and they're like, hey, this lady needs to sell. Like, she just needs to sell. We've been on the market, 100 something days. We're canceling the listing. Can you help her? And if you do help her, we pay me a commission. She brought it to me. I was like, well, run the number. She ran it and I'm like, lock it up. It looks good. And then so I paid for the inspections. I paid $1,000. I ran scoping through the plumbing because there was some settling, and I ran all the inspections. Cherry. Everything was cherry. Nice. And it was like, look, you know what? I ran the numbers again. I was like, I want a buffer for this because I want to move this really fast. I want you to get a $15,000 discount. We end up getting this thing. We retraded. We got it for, which I want to be honest, 90% of our deals are retraded.
Yep.
Right? Meaning we renegotiate the price somewhat. We end up getting this thing for $185. All right. We end up getting a cash offer the same day we closed, and I funded everything from the inspections to the purchase. The same day we closed, we got an offer from our other buddy, cash. We wanted to sell this thing for $275. It was a $300,000 house, but we're trying to move it. Yeah. Our buddy's, look, I got cash. I'll pay you $255 today if we could sell it. So we locked it in a 4-week period. We netted $52,000. This power was rook, right? Like, bro, in whole, I didn't do anything. Like, I just showed her that, hey, this is possible. Yep. This is how you underwrite it. Like, I'm not a magician.
Yeah, I think, dude, I was like, I need one of the horns or something here too. And, but let's talk about that. If the wholesaler had that. So she walked away with 50 and it went Wholetail, or the company, net at 52, et cetera. But wouldn't that have also been a really good wholesale lead too?
Yeah. Yeah. We could have wholesaled the hell out of it. You know what I mean? Like, it could have been a wholesale deal all day. But here's the thing is, like, you got to go find the buyer for the wholesale deal. It's a complete retail deal. You could have, somebody else would have done a wholesale. They would have made a little less. It would all worked out. Right.
It all worked out. But what people don't understand, dude, I got into this industry and I was like, all right, bet I'm direct to seller, and like, all right, cool. We're going to talk to Gladys Smith, who's 78 years old, and we're going to help her through her situation. Or this other person's got a crackhead daughter living in the house. I was like, cool. And then I started dealing with buyers. I was like, oh, these are the savages. These are the guys who eat up and chew wholesalers day after day after day because they got you by the gonads, particularly if it's on the line or whatever. And so the advantage with the Wholetail side is you're going to the biggest pool of buyers that's ever existed out there because it's going to be listed. And these retail buyers, and granted, the banks and inspections can be a B as well too, But people really underappreciate how savages some of these cash buyers are out there.
Dude, you control the board. Like, you control everything. If you're the buyer, and this doesn't fit, you know this, it doesn't fit for every situation, but when
Sure.
it does and you identify it, like you could, I've got a buddy, he's big name, but he does a lot of these a month too.
Yeah.
Right. And you control it as well as all the other crap, but you control the board. You know what I mean? And I just love them. I love being able to take down properties and control them. And sometimes you can't. You got to wholesale them. You got to novate them. You got to whatever, you know.
But it's a really good pocket. Now, walk me through from a sales standpoint what this seller may hear or experience that's different than if it's a wholesale pitch. So, like, how are you guys pitching this different than a wholesale?
Badass question, because this lady was getting hit up, right, by every wholesaler.
Amen.
Hey, we'll do this, we'll do that. And I'm like, I got one question for you. Are they going to buy them? Well, they said they made the offer. I want you to do one thing. Don't do any business with me right now. I want you to call them and ask them, are they going to buy it or are they going to look for a buyer? That's all I want you to do. And they're like, well, they're going to have to find a buyer. I'm like, I don't have to find a buyer. I'm buying it.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. It's that authority pitch. That's great, man. All right, cool. So now you have this community, your groups, everybody that's in there, you're showing them this really good way and you're giving them access to capital. Let's take a couple of steps back. How are you encouraging them or teaching them to go direct the seller? Is this like, hey, in our community, we're mainly working the MLS? Are we cold calling? Are we texting? Are we dropping mail? What's kind of the MO?
All right. So I've ran every kind of marketing source you could think of. And I've spent too much on some things and whatever. They've all provided some sort of return. But, you know, you have different types of people. And I've had to learn this coaching people. If you have like hammers, right? You have the
Amen.
A type like us. Like we probably get on the phone and fingers are going to bleed and we're going to get a deal. It doesn't matter what happens. We're going to get a deal. We're going to trip on a deal because you're just going to keep making calls. Not everybody's wired like that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Right? I don't mean unfortunately. I mean, they're not. Unfortunately, I didn't realize that. Let's put it that way. So there's also other ways, like people that I recognize that aren't like, they're like, why aren't you making your calls? Well, I'm like, cool. How many realtors have you talked to today? Well, do that. At least network. I want you networking with this amount per day. And I'm like trying different things with the introverts, with the people that aren't the A type, you know, like the one we're closing, she's an introvert. You know, also I'm really promoting like, hey, if you can afford it, which a lot of people think they can't out the gate, like get a VA, $4 an hour, right? And like get a CRM. I'd go high level and just like pull a list of properties that have been on the market 150 days, send a simple message to every agent. Do you have a listing that would accept a cash offer? 90% of the agents are like, nah. And then you get this little pocket and they're like, hell yeah. Right? I'm like, underwrite those deals and send them an offer.
Nice. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm starting to come to grips with what you're saying, man. I'm not there yet. And the reason why I struggle with it is it's because of that A-type personality where everything you just manifest the outcome, but about believing that there's different types of personalities. Because I'm like, yo, you put that closer agent in front of me, I'm gonna show him how to close. I'm gonna show him how to be aggressive. I'm gonna show him how to do this. But there really is those nuances to those personality types. But I think that's why having a structure, though, no matter what, to your consultation is important. And so I know that you've done VAs or you have a team of VAs, you've done cold calling. Walk me maybe through exactly what you're doing now for marketing yourself, and then exactly maybe how you're doing your training of your VAs, et cetera.
So I run Facebook ads and do speed delete, really.
Nice.
I've done everything. I was spending $20,000 a month on mailers last year. Now I run $100 a day on Facebook ads. Dude, I get the same return, right?
That's crazy. That's great. Yeah. Are you running the Facebook yourself or are you going through an agency?
I am doing it myself because I've went through people and it didn't work. I'm going to tell you why I figured out it worked now. So I call out my avatar. I've got this ad and I'm not shy in front of just telling you how the cow eats the cabbage. Sure. Right? So like on my ad, I'm like, do not fill the form out. I don't know the exact words, but don't fill the form out if it's not a discounted offer. Like I'm not the kind of guy that's going to be like, hey, I'm giving you a cash offer full blah, blah, blah. Like I tell them in the ad, I'm like, do not fill the form out unless it's a discount. I am a cash buyer. If we can make a deal, great. Every person that's calling me is at a discount. Right. So I think I can call my avatar out. Like my best lead source is that.
Right. That's great. And you're setting the expectation. You're avoiding the tire kickers, which people don't appreciate. And that's the reason why I think weak cold call leads can also be an issue. They're like, oh, I got a bunch of leads. I'm like, dude, you got a heartbeat in a home and you're taking time away from calling these other tier 1 leads to call the rest of them there. And that was always my issue. I haven't mastered Facebook, not doing anything in Meta right now. The thing that irritates me the most about Meta, though, like, even though I'm outside of the country, I still get everybody's ads. So first off, I'm like, you guys are morons because you don't have your geo restriction set up. So what's wrong with you? Number one. Number two is, dude, I'll see a Facebook ad for a cash buyer. Heavens forbid I like it. And all of a sudden, the next one's another cash buyer. And the next one's a cash. Dude, I'm getting 14 different things to look at. And I'm like, man, Meta, can Travis at least have enough time to call his people that just filled out a form before you show them all those other ads? So there is a lot of competition in that space for Meta.
Yeah, I agree. I'm doing nationwide. I was specifically doing Texas. My lead cost was I'm spending $13 a lead, which is nothing, right? I'm spending $13 lead. And because I did nationwide, I'm like, really, like, data is data. So, like, I don't really care where the property is, or wholesale, hotel, and novate, what freaking ever. It's a property and it's data. So I'm running it nationwide. I've got one. I had a team of closers. I have one now because I realized more wasn't better. And he's handling all my Facebook ad leads, just the contracting, all that. I've trained him for like a few years. So he's freaking good. We do role play. Like, we're like, hey, on the sell. Hey, we do the role play. He can do every kind.
Let's talk about nationwide. You know, if I'm a wholesaler and I'm like, dude, I got wholesaling kind of down. I want to go nationwide. I follow the greats. I see Nick Perry and some of these other guys out there. They're like nationwide. They couldn't do it in wholesaling, right? Like, they've tried. A lot of guys I know have done nationwide wholesaling. It just didn't work out for them. They couldn't get a buyer's list right, investor list, whatever, or they were too rural of an area. So they pivoted to novations, or they've heard that that's the key. Walk me through how you see the difference between novations and wholetailing and why you use it in this category, but maybe not this one.
Yeah. You're going to laugh too, because like any novation deal I've ever done, I've never done a repairs on it. Right. And it sounds funny because that's like a main strategy.
Yeah.
But I don't like pain in the ass stuff. I think that's like a trend. Like, so like anything,
you're getting older and smarter.
Yeah. So I'll tell you about a few novations we have nationwide right now. Well, one we closed last month was cool because it was in Texas. They were getting foreclosed on. It was just listed. It fell off, and they just had the market value wrong. That's a big thing I'm a proponent of. It's market value first before ARV, especially on a novation. Like, what will it sell for in 60 days or less? Well, I don't know. You should know. You shouldn't lock anything up unless you know. What will it? Well, I can't predict it. Yes, you can. Pull the comps up. Look at the days on market, right? Subtract everything that hasn't moved in 60 days or less. Those are your comps. So that's how we do our novations. You know, if this property looks like this one and it's moved in 60 days or less, we assign that as market value. We'll subtract, the 10% for closing and whatever, and then we'll subtract our $30K fee. That's a novation. That's how we do our novations. If they need repairs and stuff, we don't even do that. And then I call the realtor and I'm like, hey, so you sold the property next door on the street. We'll call a local one. We're helping the seller list this. We don't own it, and the way we're pitching the seller is that, honestly, we're hiring a realtor. Seller, like, we're going to go hire a realtor. We know our stuff. We ran some data. If you want me to handle it, cool. If not, no big deal. That's it.
So I didn't really follow there. So you're doing the exact same spread model on a novation or a wholetail for you. You're trying to do the exact same modeling. And then you're just not taking the burden of actually closing on it yourself. Does it mean you're a little less comfortable with the deal? Is that the reason why?
Yeah. It's not something I'm super warm and fuzzy. Like, I am not super warm and fuzzy. I don't want to own this thing. I think there is some volatility in the deal. Whatever holes I poked in it, if I take down a deal, I can't poke holes in.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Dude, I don't think I've had anybody really talk about the difference between market value and ARV before, but I think that that's exactly what every buyer looks at. And when the cash buyers are like, an investor lift, why are you even sending me this ARV? Your ARV, it means nothing to me. They have that market value mindset. They want to know exactly what it's actually going to go for, et cetera, et cetera. To your Facebook leads, can you walk me through like what your sales cycle roughly looks at? A lead comes in, and then your guys touching them. How is your sales cycle from there?
All right, so lead pops in. We use Go High Level. It's branded Investor Plug High.
Oh,
yeah,
dude, one of my affiliates. I swear to God, put it this way: I just sent a lead. This is no bullshit. His name is Joey Bebo.
Okay.
Anyways, he must be he's on Investor Plug. I literally just sent him a lead. He just said, check the CRM out, and boom, he just locked up a deal from us. Literally right before we went live. It's great.
That's awesome. Yeah, I use them. I don't like doing the tech stuff myself.
Yeah.
And, they link up my Facebook ad to it. And so when people fill out the form, it goes to my pipeline is like I have dead leads, meaning the only way a lead's dead is if they tell you to screw off or they don't want to know, right? Yeah. Everything else is fair game. I have initial calls, which that's where our initial calls go into. So when somebody fills out the form, they go on an initial. Then I have, your warm leads, your long-term follow-up, contract sent, sign, close. That's how our pipeline works. So as soon as a lead comes in, VA closer calls them, 3 times, 4 times, whatever. If they don't answer, they go to our follow-up pipeline. As soon as they get it to our follow-up pipeline, they get an email, they get a text, they get a ringless voicemail, even though people are like, they get all the works in the follow-up. And then they're getting hit up every day with the automations and stuff like that.
Nice.
Hey, we'll call them every day.
And then for your guys, you're obviously getting on the phone with them. You're comping it while you're on the phone with them as well, too. You're going through the whole process. Are you trying to go for a one-call process, or is it typically multiple?
So my rule is that you got to give them an offer while you're on the phone. However long that takes. Doesn't mean you got to close them. I'm not a big fan of like pushing certain personality types. Some people need to think, but they have to give an offer on the phone. They have to. I was like, I don't even care if you screw up. I don't care. I'd rather you screw up. You're going to get better and give an offer while you're on the phone. So yeah, to answer your question. Yes.
What's so funny is like I train our closers here and they can't wrap their heads around how low the offer has to be for a wholesale deal. For all of the deals. I mean, just literally like, because we train on the phone, like, hey, if you can get them where they're starting asking prices under 70%, that's a qualified lead here in the Lamasu world. When they're like, okay, great, it's ARV is 100 and it's 70. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Now you have to subtract out all these repairs. And now let's itemize all this. Now let's subtract out that wholesale fee. And they're like, I got to offer this guy $38,000. And it's like, yeah, that's literally what it is. And it's a ball breaker to get people up to speed to do that. So when you're training people in your community, are you making any offers for them? Are you teaching them how to position? Do you have like training materials, training videos? Tell me more about the community.
Real quick on the VE thing, I forgot to tell you, is I have a calculator for my closers. So like it also tells them like where they have to be. That way I don't have to like underwrite every deal. Like it has, they don't even text me like, oh my God, this is crazy. I'm like, what the calculator saying? Well, okay. That's literally all I have to say.
How often do you override your own calculator? No bullshit.
I've done it quite a bit. You know, I'll be like, oh, we'll try it. But I don't like that practice. I'm trying to get out of it. Because as well as I do, most of the time those deals don't work.
Yeah,
right? You're like, we'll try it. We're going to retrade, whatever. Like, I'm trying to so I was always the buyer. And then I went to wholesaling. And I think the buyer has more power. Not that you have to buy every deal, but I think you should look at every deal like a buyer.
Yeah.
Every single deal. So I'm trying to get out of that bad habit of the wholesaling.
The problem is I'm so optimistic. I'm like, shit, just throw it on the wall. And you don't want to waste the seller's time. That's the top priority right there. And then also the companies, and then it can demoralize. I had Brent Daniels on my podcast yesterday, Travis, and he said he believes 80% of all deals written in this industry done over the phone, not face to face, but are canceled.
It's accurate. It's accurate. People are like, oh, it's only 50. Hell no. Hell no. Like, it's not true. It's not accurate. That's why people are going broke, because they're like, well, we should be closing all these deals. Like, it's not true, but I think we should get it like a buyer. I really think so.
That makes sense, man. So tell me more about the community. What kind of assets are available in there? Do you work with like newbies who are like, hey, I want to get into this space?
I've got people from all walks of life. Actually, I had a broker in there yesterday that I told him to do his first novation. He's going to 40K spread. He's wanting to put the investor eyes on, but he knows real estate, And then I've gotten like complete newbies, right? So like people from all different worlds, or like people that have done a little wholesaling, but had a lot of deal fallout, maybe not making money, whatever. They just want to figure it out. They want some guidance. So I'm pretty much throwing the kitchen sink. I wanted to make a no-brainer offer. And just make a community of people that I could do business with, that I like doing business with, and we could all win. So I have like hundreds of hours in school of just trading or live calls. And then in the Facebook group, I post every day, and we meet every Tuesday and Thursday up to 2 hours. So I can answer any questions, walk through deals. They're sending comps. They know in the group, like if they just put a deal, I've got this great deal. Like, don't do that. Don't be that guy or girl. Like, put the calculator, put the comps, pitch me. You're an investor now. So I'm trying to teach this buyer mindset. Pitch the deal. Why is this a good deal? So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, dude, that's special too, man. I think that helping these guys have that resource to be able to turn to somebody and have it validated and give them the encouragement, et cetera. It's important. I definitely want to consider where you're coming from the Wholetail standpoint. I think just for me, I've never really quickly mastered the funding situation. I'm like, I got all this tied up here. Shit, let me just do it there. So other than you personally funding the deals, I assume you're using outside money or maybe
I haven't personally fought any of the deals. I've got a lot of outside money. I've been at this for like 20 years. I got a lot of I've never not paid an investor, right? I've never not paid somebody. I'm to the point to where I could text somebody and that my money, they're going to wire me that amount of money.
Right.
And I have multiple people like that. You know what I mean? So I've just been doing it. I just have so much relationship capital, which people don't talk about that much, but it's so huge. Like I could text so many people right now. I can't even think of how many people that would wire me money to my account for a deal.
One of the things I enjoy about your social content is that you are taking these calls live and you are showing the goods and bads of it as well too. And my girl, the young lady, Nata, who kind of scheduled you, and she was going through a lot of your content. She was like, man, he's big on this transparency word. Literally, the number one thing was transparency. So I guess, what does that mean to you?
Everything that I've highlighted that you said that I'm like, thank you for being real. There's so much like mumbo jumbo out there, like just the checks, the warrant. God, I hate it. I hate it. Bobby calls it flash dancing. And if that's your personality, cool. I've got a few buddies, like they're real deal and that's how they are, cool. But don't trick people. I want to be transparent. I want to get on the phones. I want you to hear these sellers cussing me out. I want you to hear all these bad calls. I want you to hear me telling people, I'm not interested. And then finally we get a deal. I want you to see how much work it takes. So that's what I'm big on.
Yeah, it's a reflection of you too, and I can see why you would have access to private money, because that's what people want to trust. They want to trust somebody who's actually saying all the good stuff and the bad stuff. I think for me, when I'm training these kids, the resiliency that you get from being a closer, it's a completely different world from being a lead generator to then pivoting over to where you're actually now sending out contracts and making offers. And one of the kids is like, hey man, every time I come back with a price, I just don't feel good about it. I'm like, that's actually how you know it's the right number. Like if it makes you uncomfortable, that's how you know that you're at the right place, because it should be a win-win situation. But all negotiations have a little bit of that where I don't feel like I got 100%. You don't feel like you got 100%, but we were both able to solve this problem here. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, man. So how do we find out more about the community, Travis? How do people sign up and follow you, et cetera, et cetera?
So as you know, I post a ton on social media. I've got a link that I could post. I don't know if I could post it here, but I'll give it to you for the show notes. It's on School. You could just type in Wholetails on School, and you could sign up there. You could the only place you could DM me that I'm actually going to be the one answering is on Facebook, right? I don't even have an Instagram ad. Transparency.
No shit.
Yeah, I have the go high level, so I see the messages. Just for time's sake, and value of minute and stuff like that. So yeah, if you want to get in the group, that's how you do it.
And the school community, I think for people out there who don't know what school is, it's an amazing portal, if you will, to be able to interact with Travis. And it's got like almost like a Facebook feed too there, that front page of you and all the team talking about their wins, their losses, being able to get that community feedback. I think school has really helped a lot of people in the REI space be able to communicate more effectively, be able to organize their content. And the fact that I could just, while I'm at the gym, listen to Travis taking pitches. And I can earmark mentally, okay, he said that. Ooh, I love how he handled that objection. Okay, this is how he positioned that offer. There's so much to the process. I know part of the times is we forget our audience is like, okay, my audience hasn't talked to sellers for 15 years. My audience hasn't this. I think just by showing them and being able to go through the processes, that's where you're winning at, Travis, because like I'll sit back and watch your calls. And at first I was just like, yo, you got brass balls to be putting the good and the bad out there. And then like I started falling in love with the content. So dude, I like as a salesman to a salesman, entrepreneur, like, dude, I love your content, bro.
Thanks, man. And I want to highlight one thing. I did this in my group yesterday. People are getting discouraged. I'm like, look, like, and this is like sales too. This is everything. It's like, you know, we make all these calls. I think I used an example. I said, if you made 1 million calls this month, that's a lot. If you made 1 million calls this month and you made $50,000, would you really care that you made 1 million calls? No, I wouldn't care about the. Okay. So like literally you only need one good deal. You don't need, everybody's got their mind like every call, every day, I got to lock this deal up. I'm going to die if I don't get the deal, you know? And they get that that commission breath, you know? So anyway, sorry for the
it comes through. No, man. I tell people it's just, let's get your first deal. And now we have your first round of metrics. Like that's all I care about. Let's sprint to that first deal because it may be maybe 1 million calls. Okay, great. You now have $1 million to a contract ratio. Now our goal is to get that down to 800,000, 500,000. But until you get your first deal, you really don't even have anything to compare it against. So it's just an all-out sprint. And I said for this new kid, I said, hey, listen, he said, what are my goals? I said, 10 deals. And he's like, 10 deals a month? No, I'm like, just 10 contracts. I don't even care about funded right this second. Like I just 10 contracts. Once we get to 10 contracts, then I'll worry about 10 contracts a month. Once we can get to 10 contracts a month, then we'll start to make it a little bit slower. But I just want them to have their first metrics so we can bring it down. There's always room for improvement. Myself, I'm constantly learning, constantly improving. I'll tell you something I learned the other day, a word that I had never incorporated into my sales strategies before. And now we do it on the whole floor. It's the word story. I heard somebody say that the other day, and it was like, because we would know, hey, tell me about the condition of the property. Tell me the story on the condition of your property. Yeah. And just that one little thing, dude, I've been in professional sales for 20 some years, 22 years now. I've never used that word story before, but even me, I learned that new and I'll like sneak it in and it's great. All of a sudden it becomes like a Disney thing for the customer and they're telling me the whole story versus being factual about the property. They're now telling me everything behind it. So I love about being in these communities with guys like you is you just pick up a golden nugget and you're like, I'm going to make $10,000 because of that one sentence that man just said.
Yeah.
Cool, bro. All right, man, dude, I appreciate you coming on here and shooting the shit with me for a little bit, man. I'm really thankful that there's guys like you in this space, man. I think you're super authentic, man. I enjoyed being a guest on the Property Profits Podcast. What a fucking tongue twister that is. But dude, I'm very thankful for guys like you, man. If there's anything that I can do to help on my end, you know I'm game for it. I want everybody to follow you on Facebook, find you on Facebook, reach out to them on Instagram, and then obviously check out that school community, man. I think you're doing a wonderful thing. And for what it costs to be in a community like that, dude, it's a layup.
Yep. Thank you so much, brother. Good seeing you. Let's keep kicking ads.
All right. Appreciate it, brother. Be easy.
Bye.